Hey friends, welcome to Puget Sound Garden Life. Today I am finally planting my tomatillos for the 2022 growing season. This is going to be my very first crop of tomatillos here on our new property. I'm very excited to see how well they grow. And we love to make salsa verde out of our tomatillos and have enjoyed that the past few years. So hopefully this year we'll be able to grow a lot more tomatillos than we have in the past. So I started our tomatillos from seed, oh golly, maybe 8 weeks ago, I'm guessing. And I had a rough time. So this set here is actually my second set. My first set, I'm going to show those to you. They were on my potting bench, which you're sitting on. So these are looking pretty good. They are definitely a little bit sturdier in the stem than the ones that I started. I probably started like maybe 10 weeks ago, and a lot of them didn't germinate. I had really poor germination. Let's see here, I've got 369 plants and I planted probably about 36. So I restarted them, and that's how I have this younger crop. I've also had some interesting spots on the leaves that I don't really know much about, but I think the plant's growing out of them. So let me show you an example of that. I don't know if you can see those little bumps on the leaves there, but they kind of have dried out and opened little holes on some places of the plants. Here's an example of that, but it doesn't appear to be affecting the new growth. So we'll see. This is what I got. I wasn't going to buy tomatillo starts because we've been spending money on so many other things. And I've got these, so we're going to plant them, and hopefully everything will grow out of that and be a really productive plant. The way I plant my tomatillos is super similar to the way I plant my tomatoes. If you take a look at the stem, there are those little tiny hairs like you would see on the stem of a tomato plant, and those are going to be growing roots if you plant them under the soil level. So I am going to plant this down deeper than the current soil level in my cup or container here. And now, ideally, in the past, I would fertilize with a dried granular organic fertilizer when I plant anything. But I ran out. I don't have any more. And this is probably about 4 to 6 inches of straight compost on top of our native soil. So whatever's in the compost they can have, and then I can always top dress or use a liquid fertilizer in the next week or two if I feel like they need a little boost. I'm gonna get started planting. There's great earthworm activity in the compost, right at the top of the native soil where it meets with the compost. There's a lot of activity. So I'm going to remove these leaves right here, but probably not that set of leaves. We'll wait and see till I plant it. Ooh, look at that root system. So this is definitely ready to get planted, but not overly root bound. And then it's that easy. Now, you gotta make sure if you're gonna grow tomatillos, you have to grow more than one. So tomatillos are not self-fertile. They have to cross-pollinate to get fertilized, whereas a tomato can be self-fertile and fertilize its own fruits. So you need to have 2 plants, and I'm gonna be planting quite a bit here today. So I'm gonna get that started, and then after this, we're gonna talk about trellising or supporting your tomatillos to keep your plants upright and well ventilated and not weighed down by all those heavy fruits that you're going to be growing. Before I get going on my planting here, I should talk about how far apart you're going to plant your plants. So this is my 3rd year growing tomatillos. The first year they went crazy. They were huge. Last year they were much smaller. They're at the community garden and I didn't get them watered as frequently or really like enough at all, but they survived and made some tomatillos. But they were a lot smaller and could have been closer together. So I'm going to hope that they're going to be large, and I'm going to have a really good trellis system for them. So I'm going to plant them probably about 24 inches apart, just because they can get so bushy. So anywhere from 18 to 24 inches apart is good. I would just cross your fingers, they're going to grow great, and give them a little extra space. Quick tip. If you use a tool like this or some other hand tool, most of these hand tools are 12 inches long. Measure your hand tools that you like the most and get an idea of how long they are, and then you can use this in your garden for just quick spacing on the go. So mine is 24 inches, so I just do 2 shovel lengths, and that's where I'm going to plant my next tomatillo. By the way, if we haven't met before, I'm Allison, and I live here on this 7.5 acre property with my husband Bill and our 2 kids. And boy, are we excited for some salsa verde. So today I got 23 tomatillo plants planted here in this row right behind me. Now, you're gonna need to stake your tomatillo plants. And there's several different ways you can do this. You can do this by just growing them. Now remember, they grow a lot like a bushy determinate tomato. So you could grow them in tomato cages like this. Those are actually cucumber plants, not tomatillos or tomatoes. But one of these would support a tomatillo plant pretty well. Another way you could grow them is to use cattle panels. Now, these cattle panels are curved into arches, but you could keep them straight and put them up between fence posts like that. And then there would be a vertical growing space that would be like this, and you could just attach them to that. Another method you can use is called the Florida weave. And the way that works is that you put in some T-posts, probably about 10 or so feet apart, and then you use a string and you weave it between the plants to give them support. So that's what I'm going to be doing, but I'm not going to be getting to that today. So we're going to be using the Florida weave on our tomatillos, as well as our Roma tomatoes, which are over there. And I'm not going to do it today. They're going to be fine for a little while. I've got to get those posts put in and get the twine all set up and ready. But not today, because I've got a lot of other chores to do before the work week starts. If you've been thinking about growing tomatillos but haven't, get out there and see if you can find yourself some tomatillo starts. Depending on where you live, it might not even be too late to start them from seed yourself, but you're going to need a nice hot growing season to be able to make sure you have enough time to start those by seed. We don't have a super long hot growing season. In fact, it's probably like maybe a high of 60 degrees today, and we've had a very cold, wet spring. So these are being planted about a month later than I would have anticipated being able to. They're super easy to grow, especially here in my Pacific Northwest climate. Make sure you plant at least 2 so that they can pollinate. And if you need to give them some fertilizer throughout the season, do that according to the directions on your organic fertilizer, whether you're top dressing with a granular or you're watering them in with a liquid fertilizer. They'll probably appreciate that. Also, make sure you're watering your plants consistently so they can really produce all those fruits for you. Now, if you're not sure what to do with tomatillos, you should check out our other video that we've done on tomatillos when we grew them for the first time and how we picked them and turned them into salsa verde. I look forward to showing you that again this year and keeping you updated with how our tomatillos are growing. I hope you're growing some yourself, and I hope you have a great growing season. Bye!